This is not a first world problem that we can conveniently ignore or pray that it magically disappears. We are not interested in talking about the issue, and some of us don't even think it is real. That bothers me, and it should bother you as well. The lack of interest in climate change education, in schools, in media, and in our local communities is shocking to say the least. Stay tuned. Whenever someone asks me where I see myself in 10 years, I get anxious because the world could be very different a decade from now. We have all heard about climate change, but our collective response to this man-made problem is surprisingly mild. As a nation, we don't seem to realize the urgency of this climate crisis. We will talk about the key causes of climate change today. Hope you can spare a few minutes of your attention. I will start with an interesting concept, the enhanced greenhouse effect. Our atmosphere with the right balance of greenhouse gases has kept us alive for millions of years. These gases trap heat and create a cozy blanket around the planet, without which Earth would be nothing but a frozen ball in space. Imagine that. In recent years, the amount of trapped greenhouse gases released due to human activity has increased tremendously, and this has raised our Earth's temperature to dangerous levels, which is a large threat not just to humanity but all life on our planet. By 2030, in another 8 years that is, scientists have warned that the climate change situation will most definitely get out of hand if the excessive emissions from human activity are not managed. Is there a way to stop climate change from happening? Unfortunately, there isn't. The damage is happening right now as we speak, and there is nothing that you and I can do to stop it altogether. But what we can do is mitigate its consequences. In other words, we can manage it better so that the effects are less severe in the future. Understanding the root cause of our melting planet is the first step towards any action. If you have made it this far, then like me, you are concerned about climate change as well. Let's talk about what matters in the real world: carbon emissions. India is the world's third largest carbon emitter after China and the US. Here's why. Our dependency on burning fossil fuels is massive. Coal, crude oil, and natural gas are fossil fuels that generate 70% of India's electricity. Power generation for the cooling and heating needs of 1 billion people forms the majority of our carbon emissions. Furthermore, sectors like manufacturing and construction, industries like these, are second in line to cough up excessive carbon emissions, followed closely by transport and residential usage of fuel. The private sector in India has a strong grip over the fossil fuel industry, which is now under the world's radar. All sectors tied to fossil fuels find themselves under tremendous pressure to innovate and move towards renewable energy sources. Our agriculture-based carbon emissions have been on the rise. Farming provides employment to half of India's 1.5 billion population. Our dependency on dairy and meat makes cattle farming responsible for 74% of agri-emissions. Moreover, India has been using unsustainable farming methods like continuous irrigation and deep water paddy cultivation for large quantities of rice, which we export to the world. While agriculture is a key cause of greenhouse gases and pollution in India, with the right technology, it could become an integral part of the solution. Between 2019 and 2020 alone, India lost nearly 14% of its tree cover. The resulting carbon emissions from this loss can be compared to the annual emissions of 57 crore fuel-based cars on the road. We are a developing nation that is constantly improving its infrastructure at the expense of deforestation. Uncontrolled fires due to erratic weather patterns are also another reason for the loss of tree cover in India. When we lose massive areas of forests, as we have recently in the northeast of India, an excessive amount of stored carbon is released back into the atmosphere. Even if India gains a significant amount of forest cover on an annual basis, the rate of loss when it comes to full-grown trees is way higher, and we cannot afford that anymore. So, what do we take away from all of this? The pressure is definitely on. But most importantly, there is a lot of potential in India to help mitigate the effects of climate change. Our government is globally accountable to generate net zero emissions by 2070. This simply means that in 50 years, India would absorb the same amount of emissions that it releases into the atmosphere. Experts say this is an extremely challenging, if not an impossible task for India. This task of reducing our carbon footprint is far from easy for the government alone. By joining forces with the private sector, they would soon need to deploy innovation in all key areas like power, agriculture, transport, and large industries. For a critical and time-bound issue like climate change, nothing short of a revolution will make any difference at all. We need more climate leadership, more education on this topic, and more conversations in our local communities. Time is running out to secure the future of our families and our children. No matter how much wealth we accumulate, none of it will make any sense if we do not have nature by our side. But if you think this is not your problem, think again.